Okay.
Good evening, fellow Sangha members. I will launch right into my introduction. As expressed in the traditional viewpoints of several world religions, including Christianity and Buddhism, the dividing lines between quote-unquote right spirituality and money are clearly drawn. Christians are told quite bluntly in Matthew, you cannot serve God and mammon, money. And the Buddhists and other Eastern religions generally hold to the point of view that earthly wealth leads to increased desire and attachment, a condition to be avoided. So is money itself to blame for this division? As Swami Ananda once noted, money is basically a symbol of energy. Historically, items were traded or promises of work were introduced into the exchange in order to acquire something. Today, humanity chooses to purchase the goods with symbols of energy. This is in itself workable and not inherently bad. One of the big problems with money is that it easily becomes emotionally laden. We have to work to acquire money, which is a sure source of emotional issues. Money is not equally distributed. Some have more, a few lots more than others. And in some ways, money seems to rule the world. A famous historian once stated concerning Plutus, the Greek god of riches, that as the distributor of wealth in the world, Plutus governed everything in the world. Spirituality holds a quite opposing point of view that real wealth resides in heaven or in our inner spiritual reality. The problem becomes more a matter of what we focus on and what we devote our time and energy to. Whether that is spiritual growth or the accumulation of wealth. With an approximate 16 waking hours in a day, it's difficult to focus completely on both aspects of life. Even though for some, following the spiritual path seems self-denying or difficult, as we tune in more to spiritual truth, we develop a greater sense of how the universe works and move closer to a condition which allows infinite spirit to shower abundance upon us. And lest these great topics of money and spirituality overwhelm us, and they can indeed become sources of worry, here's a few things to remember. There is great abundance in the world. A traditional name for the divine is Providence, the all-provider. The divine is aware of our needs and does provide, whether in the way we expect or in his/her own way. And it's perfectly appropriate to pray for blessings. Another item to remember, as the name currency suggests, money is a flow, a current. If seemingly cut off from the flow, we can nevertheless visualize ourselves and our money as part of the flow, and hopefully redirect the flow towards us. A final reminder, something to be conscious of, is be conscious of your judgments of money. It's easy to develop resentment and envy over money issues, but negativity usually hurts more than it helps. And at times the turnaround is quite quick. So now we'll move on to the other speakers, and I'm certain that our next speaker, Rashida, will soon expand our knowledge on this important topic.
Thank you, Steve.
Good evening, I'm Rashida. Thank you for inviting me to come to this speech about spirituality and money. Have you heard in the past that money is the source of all evil? Well, when we consider the wealthiest in the United States, 1% of the top owns over 50% of our wealth. It's not too difficult to stretch to say, wow, that could be evil. But on the other hand, should we look at very wealthy people as soulless folks that really are, not noble and not good and don't have good souls, cloudy souls? Not necessarily. If we used to, the strategy or the idea that if you had lots of money, then you must be evil, then does that mean the poor are always noble and spiritual of the highest order? We know that's not true either. So, before we start labeling money as being the source of all evil, I'd like to propose something else you can think of. First of all, I'd like to define money. In the financial world, money is known as liquidity. That means water. When you picture the Cascade Mountains with all that ice and snow, and it melts and the water comes down and goes to the river and through the crevices and flows down beautifully, pristine water. And at some point at the river, there's a dam. They built a dam. Ross Dam is one of the ones I've been to. You think of all the big dams. And at the dam, electricity is generated by virtue of the water, turning the turbines. And the electricity is sent out to all the different cities to light us up. And the water continues to flow, and at the lower end of the river, there's farms, and they're looking for water for irrigation. Eventually, it makes its way to the ocean. So if you think of money as being water, or liquidity, as we say in the finance world, it is actually a lubricant in a sense that makes transactions work. It's neither evil nor good per per se. It can be used for evil, it could be used for good. So basically, what we're looking at is money and its usage. What does it do? It creates electricity. And what does electricity do? It's our life force, isn't it? We have the energy within us, electricity. So money by itself cannot be judged to be something that we should avoid, we should label. Let's take the neutral road for now. So if we were to think of the top 1% of the United States that are very, very wealthy, Sam Walton, he owns Walmart. The Koch brothers, if you talk to any Democrat, they think they're absolutely evil. They're the ones that supposedly put billions and billions and billions of dollars into conservative politicians. If you talk about Warren Buffett, people are kind of, they say, oh, you know, he's a wealthy man, but he wants to pay his fair share of taxes. So, you know, Warren Buffett's supposed to be one of the good guys. So if you took Bill Gates, right here, state of Washington, what about Bill Gates? Well, I have a story to tell about Bill Gates. One day, Bill Gates was driving on Walthall Everett Highway, and he turned to the right, looked up on the hill, and there he saw this blue dome. Stopped, screeched his car, and come right into the parking lot and looked at this. Whoa, look at this place. This blue temple, it's beautiful, I love it. So Bill Gates got out of his car and looked around, and he says, then he saw the sign that says Fellowship Hall, something in the future. He says, wow, I like that. So he talked to somebody and said, hey, I want to donate $500,000 towards this Fellowship Hall. And so our eyes got that big, and we said, oh, sure, you know. And then he's a good humanitarian. He's done a lot of work all over the world, and we know he's very rich. $500,000 a drop in the bucket for him. Anyway, he was all excited. He jumped back in his car and he left. About half an hour later, he called me, because I was hanging out, and he says, I want to donate $500,000 towards your fellowship hall, because I think you guys are doing good things up there. So how many of us approve? Raise your hand. Thank you. Then, 5 minutes later, he calls me again, and he says, well, you know, I like what's going on up there, but I don't like competition. So my condition is that for me to give you that $500,000 to build your fellowship hall, you've got to blow up the temple. Of course, I can't say anything to that. So I said, well, I don't know. I'll get back to you. I can't promise you anything. So I hung up. And within that afternoon, all of a sudden, Al Capone decided to come and call on us. He was driving on Walthall Everett Highway, and he looked up and he saw a blue dome, and he says, wow, that's a nice place. So him and his bodyguards, who were toting guns, you know, they drive up to the driveway here and looked around, and he says, wow, this is a nice, peaceful place. There's something about this place I really, really like. So he approached somebody and he says, I see you're building a fellowship hall, and I'd like to contribute $500,000 towards your fellowship hall. And because they were all carrying these machine guns, and we know what Al Capone does for a living, I think the overall reaction was, thank you, but no thanks. Thank you, but no thanks. It's not like there's dirty money here, but how it was earned, how that money was earned, is an issue. And there's no question in our mind that this man was a criminal. So to accept a criminal's money would be wrong. So we out and out said no. So then I called Bill Gates up again and I said, I got good news. You know that somebody came, Al Capone actually came, and he was willing to give us $500,000 for our fellowship hall. No conditions. We don't have to blow up anything. No conditions. He just likes what we do. He thinks we're great people. I don't know if he wants to just, save his soul or something. I don't know. But we turned him down flat. We weren't going to accept his money because we knew how he earned his money. We knew that he killed people. We knew about his criminal background. The IRS is after him right now. So we're not going to accept his money. So Bill, if you realize that we had turned down unconditional money, would you still be willing to give us the $500,000 without conditions? You figure out what his answer is. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rashida. I'm gonna go ahead and say, oh wait. I forgot if we do the blessing. Go ahead and then we'll bless all three of you.
Oh,
John and I.
well, I want to thank all of you for being involved in this project and the Joy Masters. It's a hard thing for everybody. Most people, it's a hard thing to speak in front of others. And that's the number one kudo that I have is that you're involved in this and blessing us all with your words of wisdom in addition. So thank you for coming. And thank you, Joy, for heading it up. It's a big project. So I really enjoyed what both of you had to say. It was clear that you both put a lot of thought into it. And one of the things I like best about this Joy Masters is how we share ourselves with each other. And that's the best part, is for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it is, we get to see just you or just you and hear what you have to say about these things. And I really enjoy that, and I think it really helps us get to know each other better. I really appreciated what Steve had to say about money, that money itself is not the evil, if you will, but as Swami has said, it's the attachment to money. That's more or less how I interpreted what you were saying, that it's when we get involved emotionally and we're attached to it, that's when we have the problems. And I love what you said about the abundance being showered upon us. That was it, and the all provider. I think that's a wonderful image. And then that currency means flowing with the current, and so we all, if we're in the flow, we don't have to worry because our needs will be provided for. So in that sense, I think that's my favorite connection of spirituality with money, is if we're doing our dharma and we're doing our best to serve God and love God, then what we need will be provided. And the all provider, I'm going to hang on to that image. And Rashida, that what you said was real similar too, talking about the liquidity and the liquid nature of the energy that's flowing. And that's another thing that Swami has said, is money is energy. So as you said, you can't attach evil or good necessarily to money. Money is energy, but it's the way people use money, and maybe what they're willing to do, as you said, to get the money. That's when, which again comes back to the attachment. So I really enjoyed both of your talks, and I hope that you will give talks again in the future so we can hear more. I think it makes me want to come back and back and back, because you learn a little bit more about people when they're given the floor. and allowed to speak without interruption, which is a bit rare in our culture, I think. So thank you both.
Thank you, Dakshina. And why don't you two come up here and we will give you a little blessing. Or a big blessing. Let's picture Steve and Rashida surrounded by Master's light, blessed and abundant, sharing that light with all whom they meet. Peace. Amen. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Can Jamina give a little feedback too?
It's all right.
I'll do it another time.